Hey, everybody. I'm going live with such short notice today, but this is a perfect example of Ready, Fire, Aim. So I'm Tina Lorenz, and I am going live after many years of not doing this on YouTube. I've gone live a couple of times in the past, but I live in Tucson, Arizona. It's still dark in the morning right now, like at 4:15, 4:17. I woke up this morning and before my feet even hit the floor, I was like, what if I just went live on YouTube today? What else do you think about it at 4 o'clock in the morning? And I just kept thinking about it and I decided, okay, what the heck? And I see I'm not here all alone. So that's awesome. If you are here with me, I would love it if you'd put something in the comments so I can see signs of life. I already said I'm doing this whether I'm all by myself or I have anyone here at all. And I'm going to be here to answer your questions because today we're talking about your next chapter after 50. So if you're here, I'm assuming that might pertain to you, certainly pertains to me because I'm actually way past 50 and no one can see you if you're on here with me. I just see your comments. I'll see your questions. If you do have any questions, you can put 3 Q's in the comments and then I will be able to see quickly that you have a question and I'll do my very best to answer it. But I already decided whether I was here by myself or not, I was going to spend some time doing this. And part of the reason I'm doing this is because I want to show you, whether you see this live, whether you're here now, whether you pop in later and see the replay, that you can do stuff even when you're nervous about it, even when you don't feel totally ready to do it. I often say being willing is more important than being ready. And, we figure it out as we go. We'll clean it up later. Nobody's going to, expire from me doing this. Yay, I've got somebody from North Carolina. And you don't have to speak at all, Scrapper Steph. I'm just happy to see you here. And I see you have a little bird on your avatar. Yeah, and I'm a bird person all the way. So thank you for being here from North Carolina. And Scrapper, if you do have any questions, all you have to do is post them where it says comments and I will see them and just put 3 Q's if you have a question. But thank you so much for being here. And I'm not all alone. And I'd love to know if you have any questions about what you're looking at life past 50. If maybe you're moving out of a corporate role, or maybe you never were one. I wasn't in one for years and years because I just didn't do well in that kind of a setting. And even when I was in that setting, I was just a secretary, administrative assistant, that type of person. I wasn't in some lofty corporate position or anything like that. And by the way, I'm assuming that you can hear me. So please let me know if for any reason my mouth is moving and you don't hear speech. I think I have this all set up. And that is your YouTube screen name, Scrapper Steph. Sounds kind of scrappy already. I love that. And I've been in North Carolina. We used to travel a lot in an RV. I've been all over the country pretty much and up into Canada. And North Carolina is a beautiful place and really close to Virginia, where I have 2 grandchildren in Northern Virginia. So I've been in that side of the world a number of times. But some of the things to do with past 50, I'll just kind of ramble on until someone has a question, or if you want to post a question, I'm happy to answer that. See, I didn't get started online until I was already past 50. Whether you know my story or not, I don't know, but I'll just fill you in a little bit that before that, I was on my own at 17. I was actually homeless in my 40s because of a one-time, very dramatic domestic violence event. One time was all it took. It took several years to extricate myself from the fallout from all of that, because it rendered me homeless in my 40s. Maybe I just said that, but I ended up in a shelter, and my kids had to be split up. One was with me, one was with friends, because one was female, one was male, and I couldn't take my son into the shelter with me. It was only for females. Long story there. I've actually got a video, a little bit about it on my YouTube channel. And I haven't talked about it a lot publicly, but I speak of it because I want you to know that no matter what anybody's been through, and we've all been through stuff, lots of stuff, we can move past that. We can use that to fuel us for something new and something better. And I always looked at it, even when I was in the fog of all of that, I looked at it as something that I wasn't going to be called a survivor. I've never called myself that. A survivor of, I would say thriver. I would say someone that learned a lot from the lesson. And even then I felt there was some thread coming through the disaster that was occurring all around me at that time, that maybe someday it would be helpful to someone else. And so when I do these things, if it helps even one person see something different for themselves, see a path for themselves, then I feel like mission accomplished. And Scrapper is saying she's been a speech therapist in the school system. I'm assuming it's a she because of Steph on the end of Scrapper. 30 plus years, lived in New York till 22, left your job for 26 years and 55 retired, but realized I still had to work till at least 59 and a half. So I'm assuming you're thinking Social Security, I need to make money. So have you found a pathway for that, Scrapper? Have you found a way that you're working now? And a speech therapist in the school, that gives you so much experience, not just in the speech therapy per se, but in dealing with people and overcoming difficulties, dealing with parents, dealing with the student themselves. And that's my point with my whole YouTube channel, is that I help people over 50 stop shrinking or feeling like they're done and start earning from who they already are. And so you're moving forward from experience that you already have, life experience, whether it's professional, under a professional category or not. And Scrapper says she started in the schools here in North Carolina. It was horrible. I knew the pay would get bad, but the school system was worse. So you want to change your path. Well, you're in the right place. I'm all about path changing and lighting the way for those that want to do that. Because really, my own story is I didn't even get going online at all until I was past 50. I was closer to, I was partway about 53 and a half. So it's been 21 years since I started online. And I started with, I'm sure, Scrapper, that you have a degree, you have a college education, all of the professional. And I didn't have that at all. I literally went out my bedroom window when I was 17. And so I came into being online without any experience at what I decided I was going to do when I was in my 50s. And I had never written for anyone. I had never been paid to write outside of the role of a clerical worker or a secretary, writing a memo, that type of thing. And when I read an article about copywriting and marketing strategy, I just made a decision. This is me. This is what I'm going to be. And that's what I did. And so we can take a concept, a dream, a hope, and decide that that's the path we're going on. And even though my path has changed quite a bit over the last 21 years. And so currently working remotely, want to do digital products, online print and demand, maybe absolutely teach those skills. There's so many options for you. Scrapper is saying she's currently working remote, wants to do digital products and maybe online print on demand and maybe teach those skills. And this is why I recommend that. Do you have a YouTube channel yet? Scrapper, well, you have something because you're showing up here. And I'm not going to click away to go look or anything like that. But whether you're just getting started, this is why I feel like almost everybody should be putting together a YouTube channel if you want to be found online. And if you want to do the digital products, if you want to create a community, I can see a lot of potential for you, as I'm just reading your comment here, for not only selling online print, but teaching it. Because what is that? It's a skill you can teach someone else where they could create revenue for themselves. And so it's a paying forward kind of deal. I don't see this ever as competition. I see it as abundance mindset. There's plenty for everybody. And there's room for all of us. And because we each bring our own special flavor, our own personality, our own experiences, our own views of the world, our own belief systems, all of these things. And never made any videos, not a problem. And that, it can feel, does that feel scary to you to make a video if you've never made one? Because it doesn't have to be super complicated on the technical side. And then there's the identity mindset, overcoming a discomfort side. That's a whole other deal. And this is why I talk about it's an inner game as much as an outer game, any of this stuff, because we can't really surpass our own identity of ourselves, that deep inner work, what I call the subconscious. Some people call it the unconscious. I kind of divide into subconscious, unconscious, and conscious minds. And we are so adaptable. Our brain is so adaptable. I just did a video about this yesterday, about the glow up for your brain is doing YouTube. And it's kind of like a little bit of a fountain of youth in a way, because I did a bunch of research on it. And we literally can sort of age backwards. Our brains can literally age backwards by being involved with something like YouTube, where we're learning a new skill, we're putting ourselves in a different situation, where we're moving out of our usual way of doing things. It keeps our brain moving forward as well. And literally, they did tests of something like over 400,000 people who are in the senior citizen age range. And they found that just being involved in something, learning new things and all of that, could age you backwards, your mind, your brain, 3 to 7 years, okay? And really stave off some of the things we all worry about as we get older, right? Oh, somebody else just showed up. Yay, skidding into the room sideways. All right, right across the, we're not going to say the finish line, the opening gate. This is, I don't even know how to say your online name, Sidon Salt. How about Salty? You had a big S by your name. I'll call you Salty. Thank you for being here. And where are you located? Salty one that just slid in sideways? What part of the world are you in? I'm just curious. Oh, and here comes Modern. I know who this is. Hi. Hi, Lori. I don't wear sideways. Salty's great. Okay, Salty, where are you at? Tell me where you're at in the world. I'm in Tucson, and Scrapper's in North Carolina. Lisa, I know, why did I call you Lisa? Lori, I know that you are in Michigan, right? I recognize that. An American living in Northern Ireland. Awesome. That's awesome. Oh, I love that. And are you working there? What brought you, what took you to Northern Ireland? Heritage, work, love, adventure, all of the above. That's really, really awesome. Well, but I want to stay with Scrapper for a minute on this, because the whole aspect of, I haven't ever done a video, I can almost read the fear into that, like, because we all feel that way. You know, the first time I did a live video, I started crying. How's that for a good start? and not planned either. Love and marriage. All right, but no baby carriage. Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. Right next door to Scotland, my husband found, through searching and things, has found out he has some Scottish heritage, and oh wow, has he latched onto that. He wears kilts all the time. My husband's 78, and if we go out in public, he's in a kilt. So he's become a kilty guy, gets lots of comments and asking him what clan he's in and all of those things. But yeah, it's awesome. And Lori's one who's working on going from, I hope you don't mind me saying that, Lori, but you're going from having a brick and mortar business to being online. So there's lots of different iterations of where we're all at with this. And the inner game first, I think, is super important, where we start to see ourselves in a different role and allow ourselves to be in that different role. And Salty's saying that my husband's Scottish heritage, as am I. That's awesome about your husband. He has utility kilts, which are, he also has the fancy plaid tartans and all that, but he has ones that are just like olive green and khaki, and that he just wears them with t-shirts or whatever. He's very, very, very set that he's wearing them. So, and Lori, I know I actually thought about, I can't do it on this computer. I thought about looking at school, because I know you're going to, I saw you wanted to start charging something for your school, which I think is a really good idea. And I was thinking I can do one of these videos and kind of walk through how you do that. Actually, it's really not hard. But let's just focus on, first is the mindset, believing it's possible. When I did my big shift in my early 50s, and by the way, did I mention I am 75? It took me quite a while to feel like I could be brave enough to say that on a video. I spent actually all of 74 thinking I should say something at 75, because it just felt like this really big crossroads, like 3/4 of a century. How is this even possible? and I just felt like it was important, and I know people could probably do the math, because a few years ago I started saying, well, I started when I was past 50, and it's been 20 at that time, like 19 years, 20 years, whatever, many years. And I thought, people can do the math. They can get kind of in the range of, so what's wrong with just saying the age, And this is one of those things that happens as we get older. Like, somehow we shouldn't say the number. And actually, there's probably some really good reasons why we believe that initially, because we get treated differently a lot of the time. But, you can get treated differently for having white hair. You can get treated differently for having gray hair. You can get treated differently for calling ma'am and Mrs. when you go to the store. Thank you very much, Scrapper. I thank you so much. I'm doing my best, lotions, creams. I don't sit out in the sun as much as I used to. I spent a lot of time on the beach in my 20s. I lived in Southern California, and I went to the beach every day. And those, if I could do it over again kind of moments, one of those things. Yeah. I kind of wish that I'd believed in sunscreen, which I did not. But remember, this was 50 some years ago. So I just didn't think about that stuff. Have you guys ever felt like that? Like, it's just like when you were in your 20s, it was like, no problem. There's no limit. I can do anything. I've got tons of time. And then as we go along, we start saying, oh, or you start realizing that some people in your age group, your peer group, or younger than you have passed on. Or you start feeling the kind of, I have definitely felt a sense of urgency for the whole darn 21 years of like, there's this important thing I'm supposed to do. There's something more that I'm meant to do. Do you ever feel like that? There's something more, right? And Lori's saying, such an inspiration. Say your age out loud. I definitely am. And it's just kind of like, whatever, because God bless me. I hope it continues on, for all of us. My mom lived to be 100. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. I have no idea. But I just know that I'm not just going to go sit quietly in a corner somewhere. And I'm not just going to disappear into the shadows. I'm not going to allow myself to be patronized, talked down to, tolerated. And there's people that I'm related to that I've had to make decisions about with some of that for the way I was being treated, or they decided they just didn't need me anymore in their life, right? We all have these things that are painful, that are difficult, that can cause us grief, and those feelings are real. But what we do with them is the next thing. What do we allow ourselves to become because of them? Are we going to become bitter? Are we going to become withdrawn? Are we going to become just, it's the end of the road here, there's no point in anything? Or are we going to find that path? I call it your divine assignment. I do believe in this spiritual connection, whether you agree with that or not. This is my belief. It's not a religion thing. It's a spiritual connection to that higher source. I call it God. You call it whatever you want. But I believe that wisdom can come through us and to us and is for us. And so some of you have heard me refer to having a chillometer, which means, and I get chills, and I'm starting to get them a little bit right this minute, where you just get that the chilled feeling, the goosebumps thing. And I always feel like that's a signal. That's a signal for me that there's something I'm saying that's meant for someone that's going to hear this, whether it's live, whether it's later, whether they watch a recording, whatever it might be. And that chillometer signal is when I know it's not just from me, but it's through me. Something's coming through me. I've had so many experiences where I've been on coaching calls where I used an example of this random thing that I suddenly started talking about without any previous plan for it, where someone on the call would say, that was for me, or that's exactly what's happening for me. Or one person would say, that's me. I mean, there was one that was so specific. It was about handmade soap from France. And I mean, it got very involved with, like, let's just say you were working with someone that was this, and this. And it was pretty involved and not your typical niche kind of a thing. And one of the people in the coaching call said, that is actually exactly what's happening with me right now. So I've just learned to trust that. I have lots of stories about places it's shown up throughout my life. And I feel like I bring that into what I do with the people that I work with. And Salty's saying, everything was fine from 40s and 50s, saying that I'm 40 something or 50 something. But the day I turned 60, I didn't want to announce that bracket anymore. I get you on that. And I do too. And it doesn't mean you have to. I just decided for the people I work with, people over 50, which is starting to sound younger all the time. I got to tell you, you have so much time, you guys that are still in your 50s. I just felt like it was important that I walk the walk. I talk the talk. If I have an anti-retirement movement, I'm not against people. I actually wait for people working less hard, having things be easier, getting found online in an easier way. And oh my gosh, I'm putting something together, you guys, that I am so excited about, because as I've been working through this process, I've really come up with a way that is very, very, very needed and pertinent in 2026. I'll be talking more about that. But let me see what else we got in comments. Salty says, I'm honestly afraid that my resentment and bitterness at being tossed aside due to AI after giving 70-hour weeks to the company for 34 years is keeping me from moving forward. Yeah. And, it's not the AI to be, who you're mad at, really. This is the thing. This is one of the things I do use is AI. I use AI tools, and it's learning how to leverage them to work for us, not against us. What's happening now, Salty, also, maybe you've been seeing some of this, is that when ChatGPT came onto the scene a couple years ago, I was really skeptical. I was like, yeah, right. Because I was still talking a lot about copywriting and writing copy for clients. And it was like, is this just going to wipe that out? Is it going to take the place of, And so I started experimenting with it because I'm a person who likes to continue to learn, but I'm also curious. And I'm also not going to make a judgment about the thing unless I know something about the thing besides what just other people are saying. So I signed up for ChatGPT and I started fiddling with it. And I started like, oh, wait a minute. I'm seeing something else here. And this is, I think, we all have our superpowers. And I think one of mine is kind of seeing through into possibility. I know that it's really something I've done for so many other people. I can see in you the light. I see in you the potential and the possibility. And I know I will help you carry you forward. I'll believe in you until you believe more in you, that type of thing. And so as I was starting to fiddle with ChatGPT, I started shifting into, okay, now I'm really seeing what could happen with this. And one of my things is I learned how to make some custom GPTs, and I made one called Celeste The Sherpa, and it was absolutely amazing. I have a program with that called Divine Nature Activation. I have actually not opened it for quite a period of time now, but everyone in there worked with this GPT in their own way, with me kind of guiding the process. And just long story short, every single people in the group, it was my first group to go through it, 6 different countries, different languages, different ages. Every single person without exception had their own epiphany, their own breakthrough moment, their own, oh my gosh, moment working with Celeste. It was different for everybody. Something they needed, they got from the conversations they had with Celeste. And I have someone in my group now that says I'm still talking to Celeste all the time. They count on her, so to speak, because she was built with my intention, my training, my mindset, my language, all of those things. And then they have their own conversation. So it was like amazing. And a thing I would like to reinforce for you, Salty, is wouldn't it be the ultimate payback to make it work for you and to go past what happened in that particular situation? And this is where identity comes in. This is where, and thank you so much for sharing that really personal aspect of your life, because those are those crossroads, what's the word I'm looking for? Just really important moments. It's not a very great way to say it. It's not very glamorous, but you know what I mean? Where you make a decision, just like I did when I went through the homeless and being stalked and all that. I had to make a decision about how I was going to process that, what I was going to believe about myself with that. And so when we can shift that, instead of kind of punishing ourselves because I had a $250,000 mistake that happened a few years ago with a very not great marketer. Okay. I beat myself up over that pretty good for a while, but I moved past that of what was I supposed to learn from that. And so now the ultimate payback, if you want to say it that way, would be leveraging AI to move you forward in your life. Because the thing with AI and ChatGPT in particular is we control it. We lead the way. We are the boss. We are the boss of our brain. We're the boss of the AI. And now I'm working through this whole system where we're going to use that power to get found online without having a bunch of subscribers, without having the 1,000 subscribers and the 4,000 watch hours. What if you could leverage YouTube and a couple other things that I call the iron triangle to be able to show up quickly and then have that service, have that online business, whether you want to do something as a service for people, done for you, done with you, teach something, completely change gears of just something you love. Like, somebody's in Ireland and they love bagpipe music and we're all doing that together in my community, whatever it might be. that could be completely different than what you used to do, but you feel called to, we can use AI to help us get there. That's the whole deal. And so I'm kind of on my little soapbox over that, but I just really recognize that for you. And therapy and smashing things is frowned upon, apparently. Well, really great therapy, do something with a YouTube channel, right? Because having like a community, this is like a community right now, just having this live call together, right? I can't see you, but I feel your energy, and that we're having that conversation. And if you have a question, then I'm happy to answer that as well. And so you're trying to figure out how to utilize AI to help you pivot. So that's okay, awesome. You're not anti-AI. I'm more disgusted at your company eliminating your job in a day. Yes, that's horrible. Terrible way to be treated. And this is why the entrepreneurial path, because let's face it, we go out and try and just apply for a job at this point. What are we going to end up with? And somebody else still in control, somebody else still controlling our future, our destiny, our life, everything. And so, Salty, I'm sure you bring just so much experience to what you can do. No severance, nothing. And you'd work. That really sucks. I just got to say, Salty, I don't blame you one bit for having those feelings. And so what I hope you can do, and I hope there's some things in my channel that might help you move through some of that to what decision shall I make today, just for today, right? That you give yourself that recognition. And I think I brought this over here because I knew somebody today was going to need it. This is my magic wand. And every once in a while, and I won't even know if you're doing it, if you lean forward, I give you a little ding, ding, ding tap, and I bestow upon you the power to change your life. Okay? and so yes, there's absolutely, in all seriousness, there's absolutely a way to harness the power of AI. And creating images for your vision board, trying to see your future. Yep, that's one way. And even just little word shifts. Should we talk about this for a minute for everybody, of what's happening in our brain, how our brains work? Because I actually have some background in this and training in this. And the words we say to ourselves every single day are embedded in our neural pathways, those highways in our brain, basically. And our brain says, okay, let's make your outer world match up with your inner world. And this is what Tina believes about herself. So I'm going to make sure that I continue to enforce what she's telling me is important to her, that she believes about herself. And so if I continually say to myself, I was wrong, this was terrible, and whatever the negative things are I could be saying to myself, I don't even like to say them as examples because it's so powerful, because our brain's always listening, always listening. And so the more we say a certain thing, the more true it becomes. And that's part of where our identity then gets anchored in. This is how it always is for me. This is how I think every day. Oh my gosh, I used to do this all the time. I'd make lists about not having enough money and how much till this, and we've got 5 cents left until that date. And I really believed that things would be hard a lot of the time when I was younger. And they were a lot of the time when I was younger. And they still can be now, no doubt, absolutely. What's different now is how I process that. How quickly can I get myself into another way of feeling and thinking about the thing, the event, the moment, whatever it might be. And the more we repeat in a positive way to ourselves, just to ourselves, the more our brain hears that and starts shifting direction. It helps us shift direction. It raises your energy, it changes your mood, and it starts to be a habit of thinking this way instead of that way. Because I really excelled at negative thinking. And I went deeply into studying this and getting trained in certain modalities because I wanted to be able to help myself as well as others move through things like that. And so we have to give our own accolades to ourselves, our own. And the wand is just, we have fun with it, but it's really bequeathing yourself with whatever it is that we want to move into. I hope this is making sense. And Salty says, I found you very helpful in general, just so you know. Thank you. And thank you for the fairy wand tap. Trust me, I'll take all the blessings, help, and good luck I can get. Accepting the tap of the wand. Yes, official. Let's do this together one more time, because I think we need an extra dose. All those, and I won't know, and no one else has to, if you feel you need an energy transfer the tap of the wand. Just lean in and deep, deep. It's always better with a little bit of a sound effect. There we go. I've been using the wand for a long time. I don't know why. I like props every once in a while. I have a brain too. My other computer, I have two computers, and my other brain is pink, which kind of goes better with the whole thing, but it's a little squeezy brain. So if you need, we can do that as well. I have lots of little fun things just because it entertains me as well. But let's talk about then how do I turn my experience into something that for others? Any of these experiences, let's talk, we're here on YouTube, right? What do I talk about on YouTube? Do I have to have just one thing? No, you don't have to have just one thing, but you have to understand how to connect the dots between them. So you have a topic, an overarching topic. I think of it as an umbrella, right? And so my umbrella is that I help people over 50 stop shrinking and start earning from who they already are, start showing up. And I may say it in different ways, but that is the umbrella. That is my mission. That is my calling. Underneath the umbrella are different columns of topics. We can talk about mindset. We can talk about marketing and strategy. We can talk about messaging. We can talk about how to use School, SKOOL, as a community. We can talk about what to do with YouTube. And I myself am reinventing how I use YouTube because I've learned a lot more about it than when my husband reminded me, actually, my very, very first, and I don't even know where I would find it now, my very, very first YouTube video was probably 18, 19, 20, I'm going to want to count on my fingers, 18 years ago. We lived in San Miguel de Allende, Mexico, and we had just arrived, and it was New Year's, and we went into the centro, into the plaza with a couple of new friends that we'd met there. And they were doing fireworks that were literally like right over our head because they have different rules about these things. But also everyone, this huge crowd started singing in Spanish, Ode to Joy. I about lost it. It was so beautiful. And there go the chills. It was so beautiful. And whatever kind of phone camera that we had then, I don't think it wasn't a phone. It had to have been a camera, but I recorded it and I got the music also. And I shared the video with fireworks going off, and you could see the parroquia, the big giant church that's a landmark in the middle of San Miguel de Allende, and the singing, because there was no organized orchestra or anything like that. It was the people's voices. That was my first time of using YouTube, was to share that. I forgot about it. Ron reminded me of that. So then I got about 15 years ago, I was like, okay, I'm going to do some marketing minutes. And I had red hair, I had no glasses. And I did some videos that they're still on my channel. And I've labeled them as kind of vintage, authentic copy, throwback kind of a thing. And I have several that are about marketing. They're maybe 5 minutes long. And you know what? They're still pertinent now. They're still good. They're still good content. And so I did some of that. Then I stopped again. Because I didn't even know where to even look for an analytic, on YouTube. I just thought, just put the video up. I didn't have descriptions. I didn't have any of the stuff. And so then maybe 7 years later, about 7 years ago, 6 or 7, I started doing some more about copywriting, marketing strategy. I have 99, I think at least 99 short videos about copywriting. Everything from working with clients to, how you position, all the things that I've been teaching. They're all there. This was before shorts existed. So they're all little sideways 3-minute videos. They're still there. Then I got some really bad advice from someone about YouTube last year. Someone on here knows what I'm talking about. Shall remain nameless. And I tried to follow that advice and almost made a horrible mistake by getting rid of this channel. And again, a whole bunch of stuff happened where I accidentally lost the new thing I was trying to do. And I'd put in weeks of work, and I literally was bawling my head off when I went and it was gone. My husband was like, he didn't know what to say except, I'm sorry, honey, kind of a thing. And I was just beside myself because I thought all was lost. Just that was it. This was not that long ago. This was like last fall. And someone in my community helped me work through, because I didn't know how to, actually getting connected with YouTube and getting this resolved. So that channel came back. But in the meantime, and this trainer person kind of made fun of me for having 2 channels. But actually, it was a blessing in disguise, as they say, because I decided I was going all in on this YouTube channel. and just keep all that content because it's built a whole foundation. But I only had like maybe 1,400 subscribers, and that was after like 14 years. Okay, let's talk about slow. And I definitely am adding like almost one a day, which isn't like, ooh, earth shaking to somebody else, but it's kind of a big deal for me. So I'm on this journey too of creating this and realizing the good news. We don't have to have the 1,000 subscribers and the 4,000 watch hours to make YouTube work for us. And we drive the bus of how that's going to be. And it's really, really exciting. I am really excited about it, to the point where I am barely showing up on Facebook or LinkedIn. There's going to be a way I'm going to use LinkedIn that's very different than anything that I was taught, and that I'm putting into action also. And Facebook, I show up there and, nice people and all that, but not really moving the needle of where I wanted to go. The last couple of years have been kind of a weird changing course sort of time for me, and showing up more, just here I am, as opposed to marketing, all the time kind of a person. Now let me see what's happening over here. I find you very helpful. Thank you. I got the tap going, love an explanation on the relationship between the mindset and the neurotransmitters. Oh, hello. And Belinda has joined us. Belinda, where are you? May I ask where you're located? It's really fun to find out. We have someone from across the seas. We have some people here in the US. And so maybe Belinda will pipe up and let me know. Scrapper says, I feel like my mind is in a good place. I start creating content and then procrastinate, probably out of fear. So I'm trying to embrace the mantra of doing it messy. Absolutely. That's what I'm doing right now. We're doing it messy, right? I literally decided this morning to do this. Okay. There's no script. There's no big plan. I did do a thumbnail because that's just how my mind works. It's like, I need to do a thumbnail. But see, I kind of like doing that. I like the design kind of thing. And then Scrapper says, in this darn day-to-day job, which keeps piling stuff on me, get that stuff out of the way. Moving on through. And I'm sure on this call, I'm probably the oldest one here, just like I've been in marketing rooms for a long, long time, as being the oldest one there. At whatever age I was at the time, it seemed like I was always the oldest one there. And for a long time at the beginning, I was the only female, or very, very small percentage of the room was female with a whole bunch of guys. And so when I first started online, my clients, almost without exception, the vast majority were men. And so I had to really learn how to morph into who they were, what their voice was, what they're selling, basically, what their marketing was about. And so I got very good at being able to do that. My first year online was very, very successful, with a very high six figures, with no experience, no website. And when people have said to me, how did you do that? Because I always say, I never, ever, ever say somebody else is going to do exactly what I did, ever. No one was more shocked than me. I was used to making like 32,000 a year or whatever. In my first year online, I made 500,000. I really wasn't paying that much attention to how much it was. I literally had to ask my husband, how much total is it now? It was kind of like that. It just was moving so fast. And things are different now than it was then. Things are, a lot different now. But the point of that is, why I would even mention that, is because I've been interviewed a lot of times on podcasts, things like that, where they hear the story and it's like, how did you do that? And what's really crazy was only like a few years ago, not that long ago, where suddenly I really realized, how did I do that? And you know what it was? I simply didn't allow myself to think of anything other than success. I just simply made a decision. This is what I'm doing, and it's going to work. I didn't put a number on it. I think if I did, it was probably I wanted to make six figures. That's what everybody said then. I want to make six figures, get to 100,000 a year, and which I had not ever made. And I think that if I had any number in my head, it might have been that. But more, I was just like excited that I was doing this work, and I was just like, I'd wake up from the wee hours of the morning thinking about a project I was working on for a client, and quickly getting in gear with what I could get paid, because I wrote a 2-page letter that went in the mail. Literally was called direct mail. I was only maybe 4 or 5 months into my year of saying I am a copywriter, and that letter brought in $4 million in 30 days. It scared the living heck out of the client. He made $1 million profit. There's a whole story around that. You want to hear the really funny part? He never came back for anything else from me. He made $4 million in 30 days, and it scared him so much that I never heard from him again. He wasn't ready. He wasn't prepared for that level of success. I think that's an interesting angle on the story that I really have not shared before, is that I never saw him again. How about that? And so that, I think the reason I'm sharing it now is it's such an indicator of mindset. That this huge amount of money came pouring in. He had to get other partners. There are a whole bunch of things that happened with it because it had such a high response rate to this letter that went all over the world in a mailbox with a stamp on it, 2 pages long, and had that kind of success. It gave me success, not money. I didn't get paid very much to do it because I was just getting started and I didn't even know how to charge. And I really did not get paid very much for doing it. And this guy didn't even bother to say, you know what, let me send you a tip. He didn't even do that. But the story, because I modeled something I had learned from a very famous copywriter at the time by the name of Gary Halbert, who has sadly passed away not too long after that, a few years later, way before he should have. But I modeled something that he had done successfully. I went to my first big event and he was at it. I knew he was going to be there and I went prepared to go and not say, can we have a selfie? I went up to him and said, can I thank you? I want to thank you for this concept because this is what happened. And I showed him, I had it printed out. I was prepared. I showed him the 2-page letter. And you know what he did? He invited me to his event that was happening in Florida. This was in New York City. He invited me to be a guest at his event, which was another big deal. He wrote about me in his newsletter, and he asked if he could give this exact letter I wrote out to his attendees as a bonus. What do you think I said? Okay, yes, absolutely. Went to his event. That's how I started my business. I was in face-to-face networking. Now we can do a lot of that online. But my point is, it started here. The guy that didn't come back, me being able to do it in the first place, me taking the next step with what was going to happen from it, me leveraging that into something more that brought me more clients. That starts here. That starts here. And by the way, Belinda is in Zimbabwe. You win the prize for the furthest away because you came from Zimbabwe today. Thank you. Thank you for being here. That's amazing. Looking forward to finding your way. Me too. And Lori says, exactly why you're such an inspiration. Thank you. Scrapper is saying, wow. Feeling excited about this new season of my life. I feel privileged to be exposed to this. I need to make time for success. Yes, I love that one. Yes, that success is where that's it. That's the priority. Success mindset. I thought maybe he retired. No, he passed away. Like, I don't know. He was maybe 60, 61. He led a very wild life. I'm not sure exactly what he died from. I believe he was at a hotel at an event or something. I can't remember exactly. I just feel very fortunate that I got to meet him and that I was able to adapt an idea that he had called the dollar letter and use it for this client. And so the other thing that happened with that is he happened to be standing with his really good buddy, John Carlton. John Carlton is also very well known in the copywriting world. They were standing together when I walked up to him in New York City. And so they both looked at the letter. It was very easy to read, very short. And they looked at that and they looked at each other and they looked at me and they said, you should license this. And you know what I said? What's that? I don't know how to do that because I didn't. I had no idea. But they were just like, wow. So Gary Halbert invited me to his event, as I said. And later on, it was a few years, John Carlton asked me to be a coach in his copywriting program. And later told me that a lot of people asked for me as their coach when they were in his programs before I had my own programs. And I actually helped John with something he was doing at an event that we were both at, with something he was going to speak. And I said, why don't you say it this way? And he was like, nah, that won't work said out loud. That only work in writing. And I said, why don't you just try it? And he did. And it did. And so I have a lot of stories of the OG days. And I I still do some copywriting for clients, but that's not the main event anymore. But it's a great way to start an online business still. And this is where the AI thing comes into play. I think I didn't finish my thought. I think actually when we were talking about, I think was it Salty with the job? Let me look back here. Yeah, Salty. That this might be ring a bell for you, because what's happened is the companies started saying, oh, ChatGPT can do everything for us. Everything. Yay. Bye, everybody. Bye. You're fired. Okay. And now they have found out, oh, that was a mistake, because the AI cannot bring in the human element, our human experience, our emotional intelligence, our lived experience, which is like a bedrock for really understanding what's happening in the hearts and minds of clients and customers. And these companies, I saw a statistic was something like 55 or 60% of companies that thought, oh, AI can do everything, we don't need you anymore, are going, oh crap, we made a mistake. And they're because they started losing client loyalty, they started losing their traction in the marketplace, they started losing clients, and they need people to get in there, still using AI, but with humans leading the way, not just saying the AI can do everything, because it can't. I mean, I have knockdown dragouts every once in a while with ChatGPT or Gemini, when it's like, no, that's not what I said. That's not what I want. Don't say that, And I used to be way more polite. Now I'm starting to get a little bit snippy every once in a while with it. But in all seriousness, it can accelerate what you do. I used to have a team like 4 or 5, 6 people, thousands and thousands of dollars a month, going to team, paying for ads. All that's gone. I'm basically a solopreneur. I have a tech person. She's amazing. I just love her so much, and I'm so appreciative of her. But she only works just a little tiny bit, like sometimes literally an hour in a week. Like we have a little project right now, but she's very fast and efficient, and she'll get that done for me. But she's already got a plan for later this year. She has a really amazing thing that's happening in her family, and she's probably not going to be available to me in a few more months. So I'm kind of front loading. Oh, I probably still need a little help, but I've learned a lot. And AI helps me learn a lot of these things. You can leverage the power of it to help you learn how to do the thing, like Canva. I don't know if any of you use Canva to do a design or make a thumbnail or whatever. First times I looked at Canva, I was like, what in the world? This is so not intuitive. I don't know where the heck I am, how to even get started. I was lost. Every time I look at Canva, I was just like, I have no idea at all how to use this. But I need to learn a couple of things because I don't have the team member anymore that used to do this for me. And so I just asked ChatGPT, and I'd say, I need it literally like 1, 2, 3. And here's a hint for you if you're using ChatGPT, because sometimes, the platforms can change so fast. What's happening on Canva looks different now than it did a month ago or whatever, So take a screenshot of something if you're working on it with ChatGPT and it's telling you, well, just do this button. And you're like, there is no button, that kind of thing. Just give it a screenshot and say, look, here's what I'm seeing. What next? Oh, thanks for that. And then it'll tell me where to find the thing. Like I did one this morning to do the thumbnail I did for this live call, because I needed to resize it, because I decided, why not throw a comment out on Facebook and LinkedIn and say, hey, if you want to come over and chat for a bit, this is where I'll be. But I had to have a different size graphic for one of the things I was doing. And I couldn't find the button. And ChatGPT was directing. I found the button. I got it made, But you can use ChatGPT for things like that and really do things so much faster. If you are writing for a client, if you're writing any kind of campaigns for a client, they need the person, you, who can be working with AI to make it that much faster. Like I used to have to research for weeks when I was writing a big sales letter, and the sales letters were like 60 pages long, the big online event on a website. We call them sales letters, where you're reading the headline, the bullet points, and here, do this next, and here's the button. Some of those were 50 and 60 pages long. That was not unusual. That's gotten way easier for one thing, way shorter for another, for the most part. But I would have to research, because I was very, I was not just one niche market. And here we go with, how do we say it? Do we say niche? Do we say niche? I just end up saying niche. So I'm just going to say niche like itch. Okay. Anyway, because in Mexico, when we lived there, it was nicho. When you had a little thing in the wall, called them a nicho. So I said, okay, niche. I was never just a one niche person. And I joke about having niche envy. You know, somebody has this really cool topic they're writing for that's like, nobody else knows about that. And this is so awesome. You can do this. Oh, you know, I'm envious. But I wrote for a lot of different things. So I'd have to do research for them. And it was like, where should I go? What can I trust? How am I going to get it? I don't know what to do. I'd go through this great agonizing thing, you know, for a few weeks before I started writing. And now it's like, oh, okay, got it. Like, oh, yeah, that took 20 minutes. and really great research that you can do with AI. And I will double check. And but the deep research, I prefer Gemini for deep research. It does a bang up job. I mean, it's so professional to the point where you may say, awesome, now let's make it like human speak so we don't all have to have PhDs to understand exactly what you just found in this research. But what it does also is give you all the resources. ChatGPT can do deep research too. I have not found it as impressive as what Gemini can do. That's just me. Perplexity is another place to go and do research. And it's also where you can be showing up as a referred resource for a topic. This is what I'm going to start teaching at the end of February. So if you're wondering, okay, so I'm on YouTube and then what? How's anybody going to find me? How do I turn YouTube into a business? How do I connect the dots? So I'm not just here doing videos just for the heck of it and saying, wow, okay, great, I got this many views. But I can't get to that elusive number of 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours so that I can get paid when an ad shows up in my video. That's AdSense. That's how people are making money on YouTube. And they have lots and lots of subscribers and lots of views. But the pay is actually teensy-weensy compared to what you could do yourself with a business and how you can start immediately leveraging the power of YouTube to be able to do just that. So if you're here saying, I just want to do YouTube as a hobby, great, more power to you. That's not what I do. I teach people how to turn what they know into dough. You know, and you probably heard that if you're an older person, that dough, money, right? But I teach how to do that, how to have impact, how to help other people, how to turn, and it could be helping. It doesn't have to be, you know, like brain surgery important kind of a transformation. It could be, you taught them how to paint. You taught them how to dance. You taught them how to feel better. You taught them how to think more clearly. You taught them how to start an online business. You taught them how to turn that hobby they have into something they get paid for. I've had clients doing that before any of this, where they thought they were here to learn copywriting, like I'm going to write for clients. And one in particular, she was painting for herself artistically, because it was a way of coping, because her husband had unexpectedly passed away when they were just getting ready to retire to Florida, to the coast from Washington, D.C. And it was like complete devastation for her. And so she started painting just as a sideline. And as I was working with her in copywriting, she happened to mention it because she's thinking, I'm going to write for diplomats in Washington, D.C. or whatever. And I was like, what if you did something with this? Because she said, oh yeah, I volunteer and I teach people. I'm teaching people how to paint. I'm like, that, you know, that's seeing the pathway for someone else. Well, that's exactly what she did. She ended up taking the tenets of copywriting, which now we amplify with the use of AI as well. And she created a business teaching people how to paint. And she also started a business painting stuff for shops that like Salt Life, you know, life at the beach kind of stuff, things to decorate their beach cottage with. She started painting driftwood and little sayings and things like that. Really cute stuff. And she turned it into a whole business that she didn't even know she was going to have. I love when that happens. Another one was, came to learn copywriting. What did I find out? She was a horse trainer, like barrel racing, right? But she had to have hip surgery. So she wasn't writing, but she thought, I'll do writing. And what I channeled her to is, you could start teaching this online. Even if you right this minute aren't riding a horse yourself. She had all the experience, all the expertise. I showed her the pathway, and I have all kinds of common, you know, feedback testimonials from her, basically saying, I turned this into a whole membership. These people are all paying me every month to learn about barrel racing online. And now she's fully healed. It's been some years. She teaches in person too, you know. So there's just so many great ways, so many opportunities for you to take what you already know, what you've already lived, what you already love or feel called to, and use these tools, including AI, including YouTube, to turn it into something that pays you, right? And Steph says, oh, Steph has had access to Celeste, says hasn't gotten in a while. Yep, get reacquainted with Celeste, right? And I would love to lasso AI and round him up in my own corral. Well, Salty, bring it on. Yeehaw, let's do it. Because I teach people exactly how to do just that. Actually, I had quite a spell of being called a ChatGPT whisperer, because it's like, there's these ways to work with it that a lot of people don't realize. And so just learning, going beyond the basics with it. And let's see. Oh my gosh, there's a whole bunch of comments. I'll go backwards here. I teach people to turn what they know into dough. She loves that. A lot of love perplexity. I do. And Gemini, I go back and forth. Lori's saying she hasn't tried Gemini. I myself do go, all these things have a free level, because I consider this being part of the investment in my business. I joined several of them at the $20 a month level. Now think about this. I had employees that were making $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month to help me with stuff that I felt like I could not do, as far as managing things. Oh my gosh, it used to take hours for one video to have captions put on it. Now I do that with a tool called the Script. I can do it. If I'm really being picky, it might take me half an hour. If I'm really going to go through and say, oh, I want a period here, and no, yes, I'm picky like that. I do get picky like that. And so it can take me a little longer because I'm really cleaning up the transcript, but it's really easy to do. It just takes a little time, but you can do it, that fast if you're not picky about it. And it used to take one employee hours. Literally, it could be like half a day of an hourly rate to put a caption on one 4-minute video. Okay, this is where AI comes onto the scene. and so I go between Gemini and ChatGPT. I kind of work them together. And oh, Steph had to go. Thanks for being here, Steph. I'm so happy to see you. Yes, get the rest on replay. Subscribe, like, and comment. I do appreciate that. And why do people say that? Because it's also teaching YouTube that what you're doing counts. Somebody cares about what you're doing. And so it helps you get seen. Now, I want to address this, that those of us that are past 50, especially, YouTube needs us and they want us to succeed, because there are millions of people in this age category. I call it shoulder season Gen X, late into the mid to late 50s and into beyond to baby boomer. This is where the most wealth is. This is where the ability to invest in something or pay for something is. Now, some of us may not feel that in our day-to-day, like, really? I guess I didn't get the memo about that massive bank account I'm supposed to be having right now, or whatever, But overall, that's where the power of spending is. And a lot of it's referred to also as a longevity economy. And so they want us, they need us, because there's not as many of us in our age category on YouTube when you look at the big picture. Okay. Now back to, and maybe, if somebody's even interested in writing, copywriting is still a viable option for creating a business online, because that same longevity economy that wants to market to the people that are in their late 50s and older, those 30-year-olds don't have a clue. They do not know how to do it. They might know the tactics, the strategy. They don't know the emotion. They don't know the feeling. They don't know the lived experience that someone who is in that category themselves, if you want to, I hate the word category, but you understand what I mean, has lived that amount of life themselves, gets it. And that goes into what's happening with the writing, that feeling. And the big thing for 2026 now is that all these giant platforms like Netflix and YouTube and all, they are looking at what does the person feel. It's not about search engine optimization in a traditional way anymore. Yay, this is good news for us, really good news for us, because there's a way to leverage the power of AI to get seen and heard and found. And the main thing is start by dialing in, what is your message? What is the thing that you want to talk about and that you want to attract people to? And again, I don't care if it's dog training, I'm not kidding. These are real categories. How to jump higher, how to hold your breath longer. These are literally communities that teach just that. and have people saying, yes, sign me up. That's exactly what I need for whatever reasons, you know? And so there's something for everybody. And if a person still wants to enter into the world of copywriting, writing the words, the message for clients, still a really valuable, estimated to be in the trillions of dollars economy from 2026 into the 2030s. So it's not dead. It's not, forget it, it's too late, but you got to do it right. And you got to be smart about it. And you do need to understand what is the main idea we're trying to do here. And I'm not selling you on copywriting right now. I'm just telling you, if you even were thinking about it, still a good plan. Okay. Even better now, maybe lots of advantages now than there were just even a year ago. Okay. A lot of things have changed. And yeah, Belinda, absolutely, it is a viable option. And the other great thing, you said you're in Zimbabwe. This is a global market. And so, I mean, I've worked with someone that lives in South Africa, and she just keeps on, she just has a hard time getting her mentality to expand beyond South Africa, even though I've been showing her, you could be this. And that's where the internal belief comes in. Because, or someone might say, well, I have an accent. Awesome. That's a selling point for you. That's something that puts you in a different category. You're different than a lot of people. Just the accent. People love it. They love it. As long as they can understand you, they love it, and it adds more dimension. It adds that personality. It adds your lived experience. And so now the good news is we get to be who we are. We get to be ourselves and show up on YouTube as we are. Doesn't mean you're not going to, like I like making a nice set for me to sit in front of. This is my office. I have 2 different sections of it. I have 2 different iMacs, and I like to work with different backgrounds for different things I'm doing. Plus I work outdoors. I have a tripod, and you know what? But I don't have a fancy camera, a whole bunch of crazy lighting, the big things, you see the big giant hooded things on. No. And actually one of my lights is, let me show you, a desk lamp that I got at Costco. Okay. It's positioning. So you're not sitting with a window right behind you that looks like all light and you're just a little shadow of a blob in the middle. So things like that. Those are easily learned though. Easily learned. So for those of you that said, I've never done a video, let's change that. Okay. And that makes me think I need to do a video about doing your first video. Because I have spent years, decades saying, I'm not techie. I am not a techie. If you say snippet of code to me, I am going to stab you with my pen. It was just very anti-tech because I can't do it kind of a thing. See, that's one of those things I told myself for a long time. Then I started realizing there's certain aspects of it that I can do and that I actually enjoy doing. I seem to have the ability to latch on really quickly of how do I set up all the stuff in school? How do I set up the stuff on YouTube? Just some of the nuts and bolts of it, to maximize what we have here. It doesn't take an engineering mind or anything like that. It's more like, oh, these are the steps. Okay, I can do that, right? And so I've learned to do a lot of that. So I just want to thank you for being here and for showing up on really short notice from my 4 a.m. musings of what would happen if, but I've been thinking that I'm probably going to start showing up on a regular basis. I'm going to aim, notice I am being very mindful of not saying a 3-letter word that I highly recommend you become aware of and eliminate as much as possible from your vocabulary. Do you know what it is? Try. Try. I'm not going to try. Okay. And I recommend you don't try, because when we say, I'm trying, I tried, it didn't work. I tried, I can't do it. I tried. It's like giving yourself a weasel clause side door exit to say, well, I tried. So therefore that's the end of it. And so I really encourage you to be aware when you use that word. Do you really need to use that word? Or my intention is, my decision is, I am going to, I am, any of those things can take the place of the word try, because already it starts changing your mind into I am doing. I may have to do it more than once. I may need to learn more, whatever goes with that, but I'm not trying. because trying is almost like you're already saying not doing because you tried. Does that make sense? I hope it does. I hope that one sticks with you. So my intention is I think it'd be really kind of cool to do a live once a week. I just need to figure out what day. And maybe you can tell me, do you prefer a weekday or like a Sunday morning? I've thought about that. I've thought about Mondays. I often aim myself at noon Eastern for times for my things because it's like 10 or 9 a.m. here in Arizona where I am. I'm in Tucson, by the way. I don't know if I said that. I'm in Tucson. And that video about doing your first video. All right, literally writing down first video. Okay, so I don't forget. We'll just keep it simple. I use an iPhone. I had a fancy camera. I sold it because it was too complicated to figure out. You know, my husband's legally blind. He cannot read all the little things, the dials and the print. And I just was looking at it like, oh, this just feels hard, you know? And I'm like, what if it could be easy? And many people on YouTube will tell you, just use your phone. And that's what I do. I use my phone. And this is an iMac camera that I'm using right now. I'm just using the camera built into my desktop. I prefer working on a desktop. I have a laptop. I barely ever use it. I prefer doing almost everything on the desktop. And I use my phone, and I really want to get, there's this new little handheld camera. It's, I can't remember the initials, the same as the microphone I have. Anyway, I really want that because you can just go outside and the camera will follow with whatever you're doing. And we have a really pretty piece of property here. And I like to be out with the view and things and do some videos like that. So, all right. So I have some things I need to do this afternoon. I did this just last minute, but I would love to know in the comments, if you're watching this on replay or whatever, if you would like to be able to come onto lives with me like this and bring your questions and let me do my best to answer them. And if I don't know, I'll say I don't know, but I'll certainly give you an opinion and probably some actual stories and facts and figures if it's in these topics that I talk about on YouTube. And you're very welcome. And I will do that video. And Salty says I'm good for pretty much any day, but with the time of day starting before 3 p.m. your time, I think we're 6 hours during the week is best. I kind of like during the week too, so people just have the weekend off. And I'm an early riser, so I can definitely start early. I'm not much for evenings because my brain is just kind of like, you know, at that point, you know, oh, look, the brain cells have been fully activated and now they're just taking a little nap, you know, but I know my own body clock is, for me personally, is morning. And I think that kind of works. I have several people. I have someone in Austria and the UK. They're usually like 5 or 6 p.m. if I'm doing something at noonish here, or East Coast time, 9 or 10 in the morning here. So it sounds like that works out okay. So that's awesome. And then there's always the replay. But thank you so much for not leaving me all alone in this room. But I want you to know that I'd made a decision to do this live. And my decision included, if no one shows up at all, I'm still doing it. That I would still talk about these topics to a certain point, probably not as long as this, but that I would still talk about these topics because I showed up for myself. And I want you to know that you don't have to have everything all planned out. It doesn't have to be all perfectly organized. Lori had an experience of doing a live that went sideways, and I just want to congratulate you, Lori, that she came back and did it again the next day when she fixed what had been the issue. But yes, guess what? It didn't change the world's axis or anything like that something didn't go right for her with the technology. I am not live streaming using YouTube. I am using StreamYard. Highly recommend. I feel like you have a lot more control. And like, for example, if this is how this will work. If you have a question, look what I can do. There's Belinda. Yes, please. Would love to join the live. See? And so if you have a question, I can show it on the screen like that. And then I can take it off. And there's Lori's. And she got tons of views and people were so kind. See, you might have done better on the one that didn't go right. That might be the case. And so I love StreamYard for this, that you have control over being able to show something on the screen and have the question. If I wanted to write, Tune in next time. And if I wanted to show it on the screen, I just click on it, and there it is. Because I've set it for the comments to show in this way. You can also do banners, which is another really cool thing. Oh, and before we go, keep in mind that I do something I haven't done in a couple of years because I have a whole new direction for it. I am going to reactivate doing a live challenge. It's I have to look at my own name for it because I just named it yesterday, the 5-day Findability Challenge. Findability. This is what's going to be so important for you in 2026. Can you be found without ads, without driving yourself nuts on social media platforms, without constantly trying to be everywhere, without all day long posting? Well, I mean, I've had people I respect saying post 10 times a day on Facebook, 10 times a day. Okay. No way 10 times a day. That's what I say. And so I've been working on understanding something about what's happening in 2026. I am so excited because this is going to be, not to sound like AI, I'm going to say the words game changer. They're coming from my head because it really is. It really is. And I'm proving it to myself right now. The proof of the concept is that I'm starting to be findable on, I found myself through a question I asked in Perplexity. I found myself through a question I asked Google as a Google search. And I found a video that I did 1 day ago showing up. I found a video I did 2 weeks ago showing up above people who have way bigger audiences than I do. And so I've been hatching my plan because this is how my mind works. And I'm going to start the Findability Challenge. It's going to be on February 23rd to the 27th. There will soon be a link where you can sign up for it. It'll be $97 to attend the challenge. And I'm going to take you through the framework of how you become findable. This could be the thing that changes your entire business. Because if ChatGPT can recommend you, if Perplexity can list you as an example, if Google can find you quickly when someone says, who is doing this, who's talking about that, or here's this topic that I need help with, you become the expert. You become like a preferred provider kind of thing, by the large language models actually finding you. If that sounds good to you, stay tuned, because first challenge will be February 23rd to the 27th. It will be at noon Eastern, because that's kind of my operating time. And I'll have more information about that coming up. But if you're interested in all, put something in the comments so I know for sure that I can let you know when we have a page where you can sign up. I think I'll have it ready by next week. And I'm excited. I'm really excited about this because it's my mission, my passion, my calling to help you get found, to help you bring your expertise out into the open, step out of the shadows, get found and paid for the thing you do, the thing you love, the thing that will change other people's lives, and that you can do it consistently so you can create the best of your life is the rest of your life. And that as you move forward in power and authority and sovereignty at any age, because we're not done yet. And it really is never too late. Love you so much for being here. Thank you. Please do subscribe if you haven't already. I would love it if you commented, and I would really love it if you'd be here again next time. And I absolutely will. Salty. I'll be talking about it on YouTube as well. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Have an amazing weekend. I can't wait. Actually, I'm excited to do this again. I think this was really fun, and it was so great for you to be here with me. It really, really helped me to give the best I could to you today on short notice. Thanks again. And I will be talking to you again soon. Bye for now. Bye, everybody.